Hamilton City Council is now in session. I appreciate everyone coming, and I'll ask Ms. Scott to lead us in pledge of allegiance. I'll ask Baker to give the invocation, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Scott.
Lord, thank you for this day and thank you for the many blessings that you bestowed upon us. We ask you to lead, guide, and direct us all through this week. Please be with all the leaders. All these things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is recommendation to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Do I have a motion? I'll make that motion. Thank you. Second? I'll second. Thank you. All in favor? Recommendation to approve a 3-year contract for Discovery Recovery Services for the City of Hamilton to be provided by Revenue Discovery Systems of Birmingham. That's who collects our sales taxes, keeps up with delinquents, and they do a great job. Do I have a motion?
Can I ask
Yes,
a
ma'am.
question?
Yes.
Did you not say that's still the same price,
Same
that they've not
amount.
gone up? Okay.
And they collected $58,000 for us in the past 3-year period.
On delinquent.
I have had people ask me about that, and didn't we look at that back in the first year or two at the amount it would cost versus how much we tried to do it ourselves?
I'm trying to hire somebody.
Yeah, and it
So
was
it's always
They were much
companies that I
better.
have never heard of that are doing business here some way.
Yeah, they're doing us a really good job. I'll make that motion.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Uh,
Recommendation to approve the purchase of an ad in the Journal Record promoting Buddy Hatch River Fall Fest. This ad will cost $68. I think we've done that in the past. Do I have a motion? I'll make that motion. Do I have a second? I'll second. All in favor? Recommendation to approve City of Hamilton's pro rata share of $31,717 to the Marion County Drug Task Force. Anyone have any comment about that?
I do. I think I remember, Chief, that you told us that was in your budget.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And Keith, you think we're getting good cooperation and help from them?
Yes, sir, I think it's actually a good expenditure of money, as much as the city needs money for its own services. The services they provide actually cover the entire county. When Mr. Webb was here doing his explanation of their services, he talked about Hamilton, but if they work a case in Guin or Winfield, it affects Hamilton, and likewise our city affects theirs, so it's a way of getting across jurisdictional lines, so I think it's a very good expenditure.
Okay. Anyone have any further comment? If not, do I have a motion? I'll make that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Thank you. Recommendation to approve annual payment of $25,000 to C3 organization for a period from 10/1/11 through 9/30/12. I will add, this is our economic recruiting service, and they're doing a good job. Mr. Thornell, I'm getting to know him. He hasn't been on the job for probably not a year, and I'm developing a good relationship with him, and I think he's doing us a good job, particularly under the conditions of the economy. So do I have any comment? Anyone? Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? I'll second. All in favor? Thank you. Nay. Recommendation to amend the Fulton Bridge Industrial Park Restrictive Covenant to add the following. Uses consider objectionable reason of an adverse effect on adjoining units such as junkyards and business dealings in salvage waste, hazardous waste, specifically prohibited or salaried operations of any kind, automobile repair or body shops. However, this specific prohibition shall not be deemed to be exhaustive. We ran into that situation at an existing industrial park, so we wanted to try to avoid those issues in the future. Any comments? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second? Second?
I'll second
Okay. Thank you. All in favor?
it.
Thank you.
The only question I have, Scotty, were we not already covered on this in our covenant?
That, section 3, we added just basically that specifically prohibited language, salvage operations of any kind, automobile repair and or body shops. Just was a little more specific in there about what it detailed. You know, we ran into a little bit of that situation at Bedford, and so I know the industrial board wanted to be a little clear about that, so we just specifically mentioned those shops.
Okay, thank you.
Recommendation to approve the 2011-2012 fiscal year budget as presented. Our budget does not include across-the-board salary increases. It does, however, include step raises, and I believe there's only, what, 3 or 4 maybe? That's a quarter. We've given raises in previous years. Also, employees will top out the pay scale in 5 years instead of 10. So we've made some improvements for our package, salary package for our employees. It is our sincere hope that employees understand that the city had to make unpopular choices in order to balance the budget. We also realize that we're asking employees to make financial sacrifices that not only affects them, but also their families. If revenue increases to a point we can give a raise, we will do so. It's not in stone that they don't get a raise, any increase into 012, but, you know, it may be they don't, but it will depend on the increase in revenue. Now, I want to take a moment to thank all the employees, both managers and employees, for the good job you're doing and for thinking outside of the box to implement new ideas. I see managers and employees may be thinking about that. If we're doing something, is that the right way to do it? Or are there better ways of doing it? And I want to emphasize that all departments' proposed budget were reduced to a skeleton budget. And we had to do that to make the budget balanced. So what we're presenting to the council is a balanced budget. Any comments from anyone concerning the budget?
Mr. Mayor, I've got to ask a question.
Okay.
Friday, we've had $240,000. Can you explain how we've balanced the budget since Friday?
Well,
We were at 170, I think, and we transferred from the capital fund to balance the water department budget. And there were some revenue increases, that we got with Al-Anon to increase the revenue to balance on the city side, the 140, I think.
and then we had, some of those figures were not exactly correct that we discussed at the work session.
Right,
So we went back through and made sure all the figures we had were accurate.
where have we made the most adjustment from those figures? How were we off the other day?
It ended up being 170, wasn't it? Is that right?
It wasn't 240, it was right 170?
It was 170 is when all the numbers got rewritten. Is that
It
right?
was 104,000 something short in the water department and 119,000 short in the city.
Okay. Then the 104 is what we transferred from capital fund to balance, capital improvement.
Then you
to balance
raised
the water.
the sales tax revenue and, then after I adjusted the salaries, I had to go back and raise the occupational revenue, about 6,500 to make it balance.
Okay. increased some of the, revenue, we got with Alan and increased some of the revenue estimates, and that balanced out the city side.
Okay. Okay, now, what about the water rates?
Not gonna affect the water.
What about those won't raise? Okay,
That's
We're
correct.
not bringing that up to
okay.
It's been a real difficult issue to deal with, budget, but the financial committee, I want to commend them and all the council, we sat down and finally worked it out to balance. We have to have a balanced budget, so, and, to work with.
I have one question before we vote on this budget. Are you finished, Ed? I didn't mean to butt ahead.
No, that's, by the way, on the step, those, you mentioned reducing from 10 to 5, was that, had that already been happening in the past, or with this budget we have?
that. That happened 2 years ago, I think.
Oh, so that's all, that was already
Yeah.
5, or,
Except, with the exception of the police department, they
Yeah.
remained at 10 years.
okay, sorry, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I know probably 2.5 years ago, we bought a gas pump because we were having our employees to sign a book when they went down there and filled up with gas so we could keep up with who got gas, how much they got, to where we could charge it out to each department. Last year, with the new gas pump, most all the expenses were counted against the street department as far as nobody kept up with where the gas was going. This year, we've got $193,000 in the budget for gas. And already, we've had some tickets with some gas that's been charged out, and it's all, again, gone to the street department. What's been done to correct that gas pump, because we paid good money for it, the warranty's out, we still do not have it up and running. What is the problem? And if it's not gonna work, why can't we, go back to the old system and let them have their gas pump back and let everybody write it down? But I know that these state department's got a gas pump. They're able to keep up with theirs. If they can do it, surely we can.
Well, our new computer company we're using is going to fix that.
I've been hearing that for
Yeah,
months.
I know, but, we're still in trouble since the day it was purchased, so he's gonna take care of that.
Can at the next meeting, we have word from them when they can have that running?
Yes, I'll do that.
Well, Ken, in the meantime, we have each department sign a ticket or a book or something to where we know who's getting gas while we're waiting on this tank to get fixed. Is that a possibility?
We can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, because I've ridden with the police department in the past, and I wrote there, they signed who could get in, when, what time, how much, how many gallons.
That way we can sort of keep up with our spending. That's just sort of loose and has been, I know, for a couple of years there, that we need to tighten the screws on that one.
Okay. Any other comment?
I will make a motion to approve the budget.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? Recommendation for immediate consideration of ordinance 2011-21 to amend ordinance 2011-4. I'm going to read this to you. This is an ordinance of the City of Hamilton amending the ordinance adopting a parade, public assembly, public demonstration ordinance, adopting a permitted procedure for parades, public assemblies, and public demonstrations, providing for definitions, and providing for enforcement. Scott, do you want to elaborate just a little? I know it's a long.
Yes, sir. A few months back, the council passed an ordinance relating to parades and getting permits for parades, or more importantly, demonstrations, those types of things. And Chief Connor reviewed it, and he had some questions which I agree with on the changes. One of the changes was section 2 in definitions, organization of group of persons. We changed that number from 20 down to 5. in the proposed ordinance. And that specifically, that would limit smaller groups that could come in without having to get the permit and disrupt certain activities. And then section 5, right prior to section 6, added a paragraph that says any information regarding proposed plans for ensuring public safety in order to include law enforcement, fire, medical, and street department needs in there as well. And then there was another in section 7, talking about the financial responsibility and insurance of the applicants, that it says in section B, we added outside of, what says, for police protection or other expenses associated with the maintenance of public order outside of the event area allowed by the permit. So the additional security or safety needs, including personnel, be required to ensure public order. The permit may specify such requirements as the responsibility of the permittee, so that we have to have more police officers on duty or overtime, then that can be the responsibility of the permittee to take care of that responsibility. And those are the only 3 additions on there. I think there were.
Chief, do you have any additional comments or information on that?
No, sir. Well, what Mr. Hunt's saying, first I'd like to thank him for scribbling into a sensible ordinance. The 5 people, the original ordinance said it applied to groups over 20. 20 people in a town of this size could create quite a disturbance, be within compliance with the existing ordinance. This does amend it to groups larger than 5, which is just a sensibility thing. The original ordinance also had a provision that no party would be responsible for services normally provided by the city. There are events that could overwhelm the city's capabilities where we had to bring in other departments, other services that we don't even have. So the ordinance was changed where services in the normal city area outside of the permit area, we continue doing what we do. But within the permit area, if it creates a requirement for safety, whether it's fire, police, medical, whatever, that the city has the option to make that a requirement of the permit. If they don't comply with the requirement, we can either withhold the permit or retract one that was given. Also, this ordinance refers to the city will provide the application forms. What we're using right now, the city's been using for the last couple of events we had. We've been instructing people to come to City Hall, get a copy of the ordinance, and then on your letterhead address the requirements of the ordinance. Each event's going to have its own unique personality, whether it's medical, fire, date, time, place. So it allows people to kind of morph their application to their specific needs, and it makes it easier for each department to review or notify their people. So there is no specific application other than people need to come in and get the ordinance, and then on their letterhead, whoever's representing them, give us the information that the ordinance requires for their event.
Okay.
Chief, and I'll draft a listing of that, putting that in a nutshell. I spoke with the gentleman this afternoon about that, and I'll have that at the City Hall tomorrow so that we'll make it a little bit more user-friendly for someone when they come in. Just, the basics of what the application would need.
I think that the group that demonstrates at military funerals brought this to our attention, and that's, if we have, and I hope God forbid that we don't have a soldier from here killed in Afghanistan or Iraq or anywhere for that matter on duty, that group does not show up. And the family's going through enough grief as it is. And this is an ordinance we want in place in order to control that and have some control over where they demonstrate.
And not just them, but it opens, if you do one thing for one group, you got to do it for all.
Yeah, but that's what got us to thinking about it.
But one thing we did recently for the high school parade and for the carnival they had out there, we went out there, gave them the ordinance, got the information we needed, went through the permit process, got the city to issue them a permit in the form of a letter from the city, so that if a group comes to town that is way outside of what the city can handle, if we apply it to them, we've applied it to everyone along the line.
We have to do that. That's what got us started thinking about it. Any comments on that ordinance? Anybody? Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Second.
I'll second.
All in favor then?
That was for immediate consideration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vote to, number 10. Wait.
Dan, do we do both ordinances in one?
No.
Number 9, recommendation to approve it now.
Okay, recommendation to approve the ordinance 2011-21. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Recommendation for immediate consideration of ordinance number 211-22. An ordinance of the city of Hamilton prohibiting the possession or carrying of certain firearms, air guns, knives while on municipal property, providing for an effective date and for other purposes. Scott, where's Scott?
You have to leave for another
Would
meeting.
you?
Can I back up just a little bit? The ordinance that y'all just passed, the minutes probably should reflect that this ordinance supersedes the original one.
Yeah, it's written in.
Okay, I didn't,
Yeah.
I want to make sure that's
Oh,
the
this
case.
is just municipal property, right?
Yes, ma'am.
We're talking about, not city limits. People will get that confused, I'm afraid. It's
Well, you're
municipal
talking about the-
property and not within the city
You're
limits.
talking about the weapons ordinance?
Right,
Right.
yes. okay.
Could you want to elaborate on that,
Right.
Chief, please?
Yeah, and we specifically did not make it just to the city limits, but it's basically an ordinance that would prevent people from carrying weapons or things that could be used as a weapon. Let's say a hammer, a hammer in here outside of its normal place of business. I'm not here to repair anything. If I'm carrying a hammer, there's a chance it could be here for a weapon. But right now, there's no ordinance that prevents weapons at public events, whether it's the Merchants Fair downtown, the Buttahatchee River Fall Festival here in the courtroom when this is a court. There's nothing that prohibits that. It's pretty much open. If someone has a permit, they can carry it concealed. If they don't have a permit by state law, they can carry it out in the open. What brought this up was during the Merchant Fair, we had a gentleman bring a pretty large Bowie knife. I'm going to say it was better than a foot long, wearing it on his belt and walking around with it. And he wasn't doing anything bad, but there's a lot of people that are worried. There's families that are looking at it and wondering what's going on. People are telling us about it. He was very cooperative. We asked him if he would please take it away from the event. He started talking about, well, the law doesn't prohibit that. And we said, okay, we know that, but as just something for the families, would you please do it? And he did. He was very cooperative with us. But without such an ordinance, we have the opportunity for people that want to cause trouble, if they chose to come to an event armed, whether it's a council meeting, a court day, let's say a permitted event like the high school parade. They can show up with weapons, and if something goes wrong, or if they intend to create trouble, it could create an issue. This ordinance covers open carry, and it covers permits. Pistol permit would not be good under this ordinance if you have one. It'd be like going into, let's say, where they sell alcohol. If you have a pistol permit, go in there, your pistol permit is not valid in there. It's one of the conditions of the permit. The permit exempts law enforcement officers who are certified either federally, state, local, or honorably retired. It exempts elected officials or appointed people such as judges and court prosecutors. And it also leaves it open for anyone that would be approved by the currently serving chief of police. There are people that may need for business purposes, whatever, carry a weapon for their own protection. We don't want to remove those rights from people, but we want to be able to screen those people so that it is for public safety and not just to be armed at a public event for the sake of being armed and possibly causing a problem. Even when there is an event, let's say something happens where good people are armed, sometimes if you have too many people responding, you don't know who the good guys, who the bad guys are. It can create an issue in today's society. So this only does cover, again, city property, permitted events such as parades, fall festival, things like that. But it closes a gap where there could be some public safety issues.
What about school?
Schools are already prohibited, but, and the schools are, I guess, county property here, but they're already prohibited by,
State?
yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Excuse me, can I ask just one
Yes, sir.
question? How about banks?
Private institutions, they have the right to do this, such as places like Walmart. I think if you went into Walmart with a concealed weapon and a permit, I don't think Walmart would mind, and I'm not speaking for Walmart, I could be wrong, but I'm guessing the general retailers don't mind, but if you went into, again, Walmart as an example, carrying a weapon out in the open and you're not recognizable, law enforcement, military, something like that, you'd probably alarm a lot of people and cause a panic, and, you know, they have the right as property owners to exclude you from their property.
Exactly. But I had a brother-in-law, he just passed away last week, and he went around Hamilton with 3 guns, and he got everybody upset, and I told him about the page. Bobby, I said, put a sign on the door, no guns allowed, no weapons allowed. He said, that offend a lot of people, and he had Charles Goodson, which was her cousin. He put the guns on the counter. In fact, I just heard, because I went over to the city, that he put a gun to the woman that, what is it?
Housing authority.
Housing authority. He put it
Well, then
This was in her head, and she was scared to notify the police department.
the average person carrying a weapon, I'd like to recognize they are responsible, they do a good job. A lot of them have undertaken training, a lot of them are prior military. So we're hoping that this was written to use common sense to protect people and also embrace responsible gun ownership or weapon carriage.
Would this cover the courthouse in terms of court that's held at?
That's county property, so no, it would not. Now, the county, I don't know if they have an ordinance or not, but we wrote it, we're regulating city property or events that the city would permit.
Which would be City Hall, Rec Center, Water Department.
Potentially the park, but again,
Park.
every ordinance, we're not going to be overzealous with either. We, use good common sense and enforcement as well. If there's someone, let's say they're at the park and they have a permit and everything, and they're not doing anything, or it's in their vehicle or something like that, probably not an issue. But if there's someone over there making threatening gestures, threatening language or something like that, and they have a weapon, we may ask them to leave or try and resolve it where we don't have to arrest someone, but it gives us an enforcement tool if we have to act to try and prevent what may be a tragedy.
That was my question, how hard will it be to enforce, but.
With common sense, I don't think it'll be bad, because I think most people are responsible. Even the gentleman I mentioned that had the large knife, I don't think it was responsible to show up with you said the knife was as large as Mr. Howell's unfolded notebook there. It was bordering on being a sword. And at first he's talking about, well, it's my right. Okay, well, it may be, but can you, we talked to him and just said, as part of the flavor of the festival here and working with the families so that people can have a good time and not worry because they don't know you. I said, can you just return it to your car? He said, okay, I'll do that. So, it's with good common sense. We didn't need to arrest the man or cite him or anything. And even with this ordinance, I wouldn't see the need to run up and arrest him either. I'd have done the same thing as talk to him and say, can we resolve this? Can you just put it in your car? I think things need to be handled at the lowest appropriate level. It's just sometimes it's appropriate to go to the arrest.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments? Recommendation for immediate consideration of ordinance number 2. Do I have a motion?
One more thing, Dad. The ordinance that you just approved, 2011-21, since it's a new ordinance, this ordinance refers to compliance with 2011-4, which is the old one, so this would need to be amended to say 21 instead of 4.
Okay. Jan, make a note. Okay, do I have a motion? I'll make it. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor? Recommendation to approve ordinance number 2011-22. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? We have in the past waived business license for the Fall Fest vendors. I have a motion to do that, a recommendation to do that. Do I have a motion or comment?
I have a comment. If we're going to waive that, I know we've been doing it, do they still collect sales tax? Okay. I thought they did, I wanted to make sure.
Okay, good point. Any other comment? Do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Second? All in favor?
Uh,
Does anyone from the audience have any further comment or any comment? Now I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Oh, you found your voice?
You kind of took it away there at the
All
end.
right, all in favor, adjourn? Thank you.